waiting on anybody else? There we go. There's Ian Thompson Hogg as well. So, so today we have John Shortell, who is Head of Equality, Diversity and Inclusion at the Musicians Union. Thank you very much for doing this, John. My name's Ian Black. I'm the lead creative coordinator at AutismAble. We've got some of our learners from AutismAble who take part in the music group and other kind of creative outlets of AutismAble. We also have Adam, who comes to our over 18s youth music project as well on the Tuesday. We also have Andrew Foster, who is leads AutismAble, and we also have Ian Thompson Hogg, who is one of the mentors at AutismAble as well, who's listening in with the fellas below. Give us a little wave, Ian.
Hello.
There we are. So really, just so we can get more of an idea of who you are, John. Can we just ask you a few questions just to get just to know the person who is John Shortell? So first of all, so if you can just tell us about yourself, what was the music you were listening to, which started your love for it? Kind of what was the what kind of got you into loving music in the first place?
This is shameful, isn't it? You know what? It was I can remember it. The first album I got was the Immaculate Collection by Madonna. And that was it.
Absolutely made the banger after banger on that one.
It is, isn't it?
Can't go wrong with that, mine. It's one of the best ofs. Right near I don't know, Crossroads by Bon Jovi and by Aerosmith. That's kind of what brought me into music and Guns N' Roses. So the Immaculate Collection.
It was. I used to bunk off school and listen to that.
All the big ones are on that one.
Example, isn't it? But yeah, it was that.
And are you a musician yourself? And what kind of are you a musician yourself? Have you?
No, I'm not. I trained as an actor at LIPA, the Liverpool Institute, and done that for a while. Like state acting and musical theatre, and that's why I had loads of musician friends. And kind of always worked in the arts, but no, I'm not a musician, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh no, right. It's a double-edged sword, mate.
It is, isn't it?
much like acting, because that's just as difficult, isn't it? What kind of genre of music do you usually gravitate to?
You know what? I like loads. I love, like, Bjork's probably my favourite artist. So I like a lot of pop, a lot of electronica, that type of stuff. Swedish pop as well. Sweden does pop amazing, doesn't it? It's quite dark, isn't it? So like synth pop, stuff like that. But yeah, I would say mainly it's that.
And the Knife are from Sweden.
I love the Knife, one of my favourites, And then they've got the band Fever Ray as well.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
Cool.
So yeah, that type of stuff.
Like you said, a lot of like the Swedish do pop very, very well. ABBA, amazing. I mean, the lads, the learners, and I taught the lads about this, and Hayden, you're not a massive ABBA fan, are you? more Metallica. So you said that you trained as an actor, and you ended up working behind the scenes and getting to know a lot of musician friends. But before your role as part of the Musicians Union, what kind of projects did you work on, and how did this change your outlook on the creative industry or business?
What it was, I stopped acting and done a master's in sociology, and I looked specifically at marginalised performers. So across the board, so it was like music, theatre, performance art, dance, and looked at work that like had a political element to it, that was advocating for change for underrepresented groups. That's what got me interested in working in EDI in the arts. So I've done that for a year over at Goldsmith, and then that kind of set me on the path that I'm on today.
Yeah, I think like Britain in general have a kind of a richness about their kind of creative arts where it is very political. For instance, like some of the BBC dramas and things like that were very political. Ken Loach is a big one.
Absolutely.
And it seems to be embedded in kind of British culture about class and backgrounds.
100%. And I definitely think when you're from the north as well, like it's embedded in you, isn't it, growing up? all the dramas that were on TV had that working class element, or there was working class issues explored in those dramas. We don't often see it as much today, I don't think. But yeah, definitely it's embedded in your practice, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's actually one of the questions later on, John, and we will come back to that actually, if that's okay. So you're the head of equality, diversity, and inclusion at the Musicians Union. Could you just explain what the Musicians Union is and what the role is, please?
Yeah. So obviously with the trade union for musicians, it kind of is what it is, isn't it? So we represent over, I think we've just hit 34,000 musicians working in every sector of the music industry. So music teachers, performers, orchestral musicians, theatre, like anywhere where musicians work, our members will work, music therapists, literally everywhere. So it's quite varied in terms of the work we do. So because it's quite broad, the union split up into different sections and regions. So we'll have like a North of England section, a North of England region, a London region, etc., etc. And then there's a specific section for theatre musicians, teacher musicians, record musicians, so we can serve the members as well as we possibly can. And obviously my job sits across everything that we do, because we want it embedded in all the work that we do to have a stronger quality and diversity focus. So we provide services for members like insurance, legal advice and assistance, workshops, training, like there's a whole host of benefits to joining. And then I guess that's one side of what we do. And then the other side is the more political side, so which my job does a lot of. So it'll be like lobbying government or lobbying organisations in the industry for change. Obviously with my job, mine's going to always have an EDI, equality, diversity, inclusion perspective. So it's like we're lobbying government at the moment on, well, we've just finished lobbying on, we're shutting down the railway stations. The getting rid of people who were the ticket inspectors and people in the stations. Our members were telling us they use it a lot to travel to gigs, especially our disabled members and our female members, and having someone there keeps them safe. So it's stuff like that you mightn't necessarily automatically connect with the Musicians Union, but the broader stuff that'll impact our members, allowing them to get to work safe, and stuff like that. Yeah, so each day is different, to be quite honest.
Yeah. And I was looking at the Musicians Union website as well. I can see that people who have disability, it costs less for them to join.
That's right. Yeah. It's great I think people forget sometimes that trade unions are work on behalf of the members. So the members have got the power. So if you want to change something about a trade union, you're a member, there's a process where you can do that through being on a committee or going to conference and putting a motion towards it. And that comes directly from our disabled members. Said we want the union to take into account that disabled people face barriers in the career and it costs more to be disabled. So that come through a conference motion, and we worked on that and created the Disabled Musicians membership. And then from that, it spreads an awareness, not just in the MU, but throughout the industry about some of the issues that disabled musicians will face. And this is why we've reduced our membership. It's brilliant that I'm really proud of that membership.
I can also see when I went on the website as well that those webinars for people to understand more about people or musicians who have disability. And what we call hidden disability as well, such as autism and ADHD and things like that. So my next question is how did you become part of the Musicians Union, and what was the stimulus or the reason for the direction you took, which resulted in you becoming the head of equality at the Musicians Union?
So when, like I said earlier, I'd done like a master's in sociology, and that was my focus, was looking at underrepresented or marginalised performers. So that got me really interested in like pursuing it as a career, and looking at, well, where is the best place that would make change? And it took me to the MU, like a trade union. And I started as a membership administrator. And learned more about the business and done various jobs. Like I was an official, then I worked in the education department, and then I done this job, but I used to do it part-time as well. So we've done multiple jobs, like either when things come up or on maternity cover and stuff like that, and learned like a lot about how the MU works and what the different issues were across the sectors. And then there was a push to make ED&I more embedded within the union, and this job became available full-time. So he interviewed for it, and then that's how I got this job. And it looks completely different now to when I started it. So when I started, we were starting from scratch in a lot of ways. Like, we knew very little about our membership in terms of diversity monitoring. We weren't really having policy or stuff like that around ED&I issues. So that was a really good opportunity to like build something from scratch. Quite daunting, isn't it? Because I guess you've got no one telling you what to do. But at the same time, it was good where we could really think about, okay, well, what does the MU think about an issue and how are we going to tackle it? And what's the best way for us to work? So I think we've spent the last 5 or 6 years making sure we're in a position that we can speak to our different groups of members. We know who our members are and where they work. And we've got like a specific unique voice, I would say now, on ED&I issues in the industry. But again, it's always like a work in progress, isn't it? You never know what's going to come in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I think, did that answer your question properly?
Yeah, I think, and also because you sort of almost started from the bottom and you've kind of worked your way up by kind of oh, there's a chance here where I can help out and stuff like that. You've kind of learned more skills by doing that, and which kind of makes you, it empowers you. The more knowledge that you have, by the time you get there, you don't feel like a complete, novice in a way. You kind of
definitely
everything from the bottom up.
Don't get me wrong. There's some days where you think, I think anyone thinks, don't you, where you think, oh my God, I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, you just get that imposter syndrome, don't you? But having that like knowledge of the organization, it's going to benefit you in multiple ways, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I absolutely understand, because how I started at AutismAble is I was helping out at different, just for a couple of hours each time. And then just gradually, I just got more and more. And then I got dragged in full time. I said dragged in. I jumped in, didn't I? So this might sound a bit combative, this next question.
No, go on.
But there'll be a lot of people who say, like, why do we need diversity? It's just a ticky box, isn't it? At the end of the day, just to show that that business is ticking. So it's just that question, really. Like, I know the answer, or I have my understanding of why we need it. But if you could just say, why do we need diversity, John?
All right. So I guess that's a big question, isn't it? So so the easy answers is there's a moral element to it, isn't there? It was, why shouldn't we have diversity? Why shouldn't we look like the communities that we work in? Like, everyone should have access to those opportunities. And then I guess, because I have this, you can imagine I get asked this question a lot, don't I? So then there's the financial or the business side of diversity, where every single piece of data confirms that if you have a diverse organization, it performs better than ones that aren't diverse. And that's diversity across the board, so ethnicity, gender, disability, LGBT employees. So there's that as well. But for me, ultimately, diversity is the result of the work that I do behind the scenes, or the work that ED&I advocates do behind the scenes. So to achieve diversity, I think the job is to remove the barriers that inhibit it. So that could be, is it physical barriers for disabled people? Is it attitudinal barriers? Is the issues with racism, misogyny? Is the barriers there around care and responsibilities, or with people with children? What are the barriers that are stopping people participating in whatever it is that they should be participating in? That's the interesting bit to me, is I'm working with those groups of members to identify the barriers, and then, well, how do we take those barriers away to make sure that opportunity is available to everyone, however it is? So diversity is the end result of a really, really long, massive piece of work, isn't it? By identifying these barriers, removing the barriers. So when people say, why do we want diversity? It's, well, what if we didn't have it, what would we have? We'd have a society that works for one group of people, which, let's be honest, it would be white, able-bodied guys who society, because that's what we've built society around. Nothing against those guys, like, obviously, but society should work for everyone, shouldn't it? For me, that's the answer. It's like, do we want that, or do we want this? And I know most people that I speak to would want a fair and open, transparent society where everyone can participate and everyone's got access to the opportunity. And again, it comes back to that thing of, well, no one's being treated better than anyone else by doing this work. You're not losing out. What we're doing is we're opening up the sector to everyone who wants access to it. And everyone is still going to go through the same processes. But at the moment, people aren't even getting to the start line. So that's what the work is about.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I think what you've said something there that I think, because you see, we all go on social medias and we all kind of like go onto an article and we see these kind of things popping up all the time. And you do kind of get a sense that people feel that because of growing diversity, which is a good thing, some people do believe that things are getting taken away from them.
Yeah.
And I think that was a very good point that you just spoke about there, John.
I had a conversation with someone, another person with it was a group of us who were all autistic, and we were saying that it's not changing the world for like people that aren't like neurotypical. It's just like it's more about helping, like changing the world a little bit to help people that aren't neurodivergent. And I think like and stuff like that, obviously not just for neurodivergent people, but like you says, for like women, LGBT people, stuff like that. Like it doesn't change anything for effectively cishet white fellas. It just helps people that aren't cishet white fellas.
Yeah. And I completely agree, Adam. And if anything, it benefits everyone. Like if you look at physical access, if you change physical access and make a building more accessible, that benefits every single person. Nobody has to ask. There doesn't need to be that conversation. It's just accessible to everyone. So like, say, I don't know, we have this thing called access riders, with what we built with our disabled members. And it's a rider like what musicians have, but you put your access requirements on them and you can send them when you're getting a gig. So it's just a dead easy way to communicate what you need to do your job. And obviously it was developed with our disabled members, but I've seen like a pregnant woman using it because she needed a specific thing when she was pregnant to get into a building. So you can start to see how like, yeah, we're doing it because we want to solve issues that this community are facing, but the benefits are so wide reaching. And when people say like about a tick box exercise, like it's way more than a tick box exercise. When you tick the box to say you're disabled or you're gay or whatever, like the diversity thing that you're ticking is, that information, I can do so much with that information in terms of like what our membership. If I know I've got a high percentage of visually impaired members, I know we'll need specific things around to accommodate visually impaired members. Are the resources that speak to that community of musicians? Is there a way I can set up a network with that musician to find out what they need from the MU, what barriers they're facing on with the industry? Do you know what I mean? So the tick box thing is, yeah, you're just ticking a box, but it's what you do with that information afterwards that makes the change, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks, Adam. That was brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, I think some kind of some opinions think that we do like or people do like nothing with that information, and it's just to cover their own back. So there seems to be some kind of I think they just think we're just doing it just to kind of just so we look good, but there is a reason.
Yeah, well, if they say what do they say? Oh, virtue signaling. I hate that one. And it's like I haven't got time to be virtue signaling. I'm actually busy getting on with stuff. You know, it's not virtue signaling just because you want people to be included or have access, is it? Yeah. But yeah, there is, especially at the moment, there's that narrative. And if I'm honest with you, it's fueled by the current government, and like certain sections of the media that if one group of people get this, you're getting less.
Yeah,
it's just not true at all. Like no, it's just not true at all. But people are always going to buy into that, and I guess part of our job as a union is to combat that narrative and talk about the positive things that equality and diversity bring. So there's a lot of that at the moment, though, isn't there? I stay off social media, to be honest, because I just think I just can't deal with that.
I think, especially with the current government's plans of trying to get disabled people back into work, it becomes more and more important for especially for disabled people, for like EDI stuff to become more and more prevalent as well.
Absolutely, like, and we work with our disabled members network on things like this. So responding to the consultation for the government, not that they generally listen to consultation responses, but still it's making sure our members' voices are heard collectively. And I guess for me, that's the powerful thing about the union. It's like you're not on your own, or you've got 34,000 other musicians backing you. So yeah, it's definitely those things, and when people are putting forward things that are bad for disabled people or women, we're there with a voice to say, actually, no, this isn't good for our members, this isn't good for anyone or society. So the government done a whole investigation into misogyny in the music industry. We went and gave evidence at that over the summer. And again, it's speaking to our female members and saying, tell us about your experiences, and then we can go and voice them to government, and hopefully that they'll make change. But yeah, I mean, it's a big part of my job is speaking to groups of members about what's happening and looking at where we can support. And it might be we can't do nothing, but we can support a disabled people's organisation who are set up to lobby specifically for that, or we're part of a bigger coalition movement to change something. Yeah.
If I can just move through the next, thanks Adam again. I know when you first, became prominent in the role, what was some of the challenges that you saw straight away regarding inclusivity in the music business that you have seen? Now, you've touched on it already, but what was kind of one of the main issues that you saw straight off the bat?
People were, when I started doing it, people were fearful to have conversations about anything to do with EDI. Gender, they might, but disability, ethnicity, people didn't really want to have a chat about that. And I think in a lot of ways it was fear about using the wrong language or getting it wrong or not having the right information. It's changed massively. Like, don't get me wrong, we're way off, but people are talking about it now and talking about it more confidently. And that's in part thanks to organisations like Attitudes is Everything or Power Up or Black Lives in Music, who were organisations set up with people with lived experience who were running the organisations. And they do amazing work. So I think the biggest challenge was actually getting to have a conversation with someone. Like, I remember asking people about access, and they were like, oh, well, we can't make any changes to buildings and blah, blah, blah. And that's automatically where the mind would go. And now the conversation about access has become much broader, and there's an acknowledgement that access isn't just physical. And access doesn't mean always changing buildings. Like, it's a conversation, isn't it? So yeah, I'd say that was the biggest barrier to me, was like people not willing to have even an initial conversation.
Thanks, John. Do you feel diversity in the music industry is getting better or getting worse?
It depends on the day. What day you're asking me, to be quite honest, and who's being speaker to. But no, you know what? People are more willing to discuss things now. People are more willing to try things. I can't say, right, there's been a small change. I would never say it's getting better at this point in time. It's getting better in terms of there's more people talking about it. There's more people working on improving diversity. Yeah, let's be positive. It is getting better, but we're still yet to see the results that we need to see. And it's getting better in some sections quicker than others. Like festivals, for example. Festivals have been quite quick, some of them, to adopt our access rider. And I get that, because you can change the festival each year because you've got to build it, I guess, haven't you, from scratch? So you could build access in, where a venue's like a static thing, isn't it? Where maybe you can't change certain things about it. So in that respect, yeah. In other respects, I'd say disability for me is probably the one that's the furthest behind for me. Yeah. So yeah, that was a total mixed answer, wasn't it?
No. Well, I think it's one of those questions, isn't it? It's like it's sort of like a multi-pronged question, isn't it? It's a loaded question in a way, because it's just, there's so much that you can talk about where you go, oh well, things have got better over here, like you've said.
Yeah.
Stuff hasn't happened quite over
here.
It's
like, for instance, so in a couple of weeks we're having a roundtable about underrepresentation of musicians on festival lineups. Now, maybe 5-6 years ago, people wouldn't probably come to this roundtable. Whereas now people are like, oh yeah, thank you for organising it. Like, we're going to come, and they're ready to talk about it and discuss and listen to ideas. So yeah, it is getting better, but I mean, so slowly.
Will that meeting be open to the general public like this?
No,
John?
that's a closed meeting, that one. But at some point there probably will be an open meeting. See, there's lots of work that'll go on like behind the scenes, and it's got to go on behind the scenes before we can start talking about it publicly, because we need to get buy-in from organisations and agree a way forward with things. It's quite frustrating because you want to tell people, oh, all these good things are happening, but generally they take quite a while to get agreement. And trade unions are renowned for like it takes a while to get things done sometimes because it's got to go through like so many committees. But yeah, at some point we'll be able to speak more publicly about what's going to happen there. And this is only the first in a series of meetings, so we imagine there'll be a few, and some of them will be more public.
Thank you, John. I think that would be a really good one, because we do see, you know, women's only festivals pop up as well, because, you know, you hear horror stories, don't you, at festivals where, you know, women should be able to go to festivals and enjoy music, and there should be women on stage. You know, it's all part of that. You know?
Yeah, and it's talking about, like, again, what I was saying before when we talk about diversity. Well, what's stopping that? And that's what we're looking at, really, isn't it? So is it, I don't know, women don't feel safe performing at festivals because they're being sexually harassed. We know that that's happening. So how do we tackle that to make that safe? Or someone's just had a baby and there's no caring facilities there, that's stopping them going on tour or being at a festival. So that, like I was saying before, is the interesting bit, isn't it? And what we've got to tackle to make that happen. But yeah, that's a big one that comes up every year, isn't it? About women on festival lineups. And you always hear the same thing, oh, the talent's not there. It's like, it is. We know it is, because they're our members. So what's stopping it from happening? Anyway, go on. I'm going off topic now, aren't I?
No. Hey. I'll let you. I'll let your passion, you know, ride the wave of, you know, this kind of misogynist onslaught that we kind of see every day, don't we? So we need to do something about it. Thanks, John. What are the key benefits of disabled and neurodivergent members joining the Musicians Union?
Well, there was all the things I spoke about before, so like your insurance, so instruments insurance, your public liability insurance. Generally, people are joining for the them tangible benefits, so the legal advice and assistance, the representation, the workshops and the training that we offer, and they're all free to our membership. And then we've got I've spoken about it a few times, a dedicated disabled members network, where disabled members will meet every couple of months, and it's a way for them to build community, to talk about the issues that they're experiencing, or to talk about good practice. They can talk about whatever they want there. That's a proper member-led space. And that for me is a really positive thing, because it's like, I can't imagine professionally you're in a space where you're just with other disabled musicians, or with other female musicians, or whatever kind of community that we're talking about. And we've had so many good ideas come from that disabled members network, or being able to learn more in depth about challenges that our members are facing who are disabled. So that's definitely a benefit. Obviously, there's the reduced rate, what we talked about before, for disabled members. And like I said before, for me, the point of being in a trade union is that collective of musicians who are all working in the same industry. It's highly likely that you're experiencing the same issues. Even if you don't, you can appreciate some of the issues that other communities are facing, because you can see them firsthand. So it's not you on your own trying to raise an issue. You've literally got a whole organisation behind you working on your behalf. For me, like, that's the point of trade unionism, really.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to ask my work colleague, Lauren Osborne's got a question here. And Maureen, and Lauren is openly autistic. She works at AutismAble, and AutismAble do employ people who have autism. Lauren is one of the workers who work there. But she just wanted to ask. So we talk about diversity, and again, this might sound a bit combative, but
that's all right.
So we talk about diversity, but do the Musicians Union practice what they preach? So what we're trying to say is, does the Musicians Union themselves employ autistic learners?
Yeah, well, I'm neurodiverse myself, and there's a few of us who work at the MU, and we've just done like a proper root and branch review of our recruitment procedures, so we can be more diverse. So we're getting there, but yeah, like, I can't be going to meetings and saying, you should be doing this, that, and the other if we don't do it. And people have said to me, well, do the Musicians Union do that? And you know what? I'm upfront with you. On some occasions, I've been like, no, we don't. And then it always makes me think, right, if I'm telling you to do it, we've got to be doing it. So yeah, we definitely do practice what we preach. And we'll be doing more of that in the future, because yeah, we wanted to look at, okay, what barriers exist within our recruitment procedures, who aren't we reaching? So we've definitely got work to do to make sure our staff are more ethnically diverse, across board. We're pretty good on gender, I've got to say that, and obviously our CEO, the head of it, is a woman as well. But yeah, we do employ disabled people and neurodiverse people, and the MU are good at like reasonable adjustments and making sure I've got what I need. Yeah, good question, man. Actually, though.
There you are. Good question, John. But thank you, John. And I think it's right what you said. It's like every organization could do better, but as long as they're all kind of grouping together for the greater good of the cause, you know what I mean? It's like nothing's 100% perfect, but if we're all striving for perfection, then hopefully we'll get somewhere near it.
Yeah, and it's like, honestly, that's happened a few times in a meeting where they've been like, oh, well, how do you do that? And I'm like, we don't do it. And then you feel like a phony then, don't you? And it's like, oh, well, I've got no authority whatsoever to be telling other people if I'm not advocating for it internally as well. Luckily, we're better joined up about what we do for members and what we do for staff now. So yeah, that way I've gotten loads better.
Great. So you were talking about before about working class backgrounds in the north being represented in the not just the music industry but just the creative industry in general. And I was just going to say, what areas do you feel need improvement? Is there a north and south divide regarding you know, help for or funding for projects that you can see, or just musicians in general?
100%. So you know what? So I used to live in London for 20 years, and then I've just moved back to Liverpool, obviously where I'm from, in December last year, so almost a year. So when I was living in London, like I never really thought of it because all my meetings were in London. Everything happened in London. It's only since I've moved to Liverpool, I'm in London loads because all the meetings are in London. And it's like, okay, so there's definitely that north-south divide. There's that perception that everything happens in London. Whereas now, the meetings don't need to happen in London. The meetings could be happening anyway. So there's work to do there, definitely. So it's not as London-centric. In terms of funding, yeah, I think 100%. But I think the way we look at funding, you know, when they talk about levelling up, when the government talk about levelling up to me doesn't mean taking money away from London and giving it to regions. It means new money, more money, investment in regions, and it means investment in like a coordinated way. So it's like there's no point giving, I don't know, I can't think of an example of an area, but an area money to make, you know, say a new music venue when there's no infrastructure in that area to support people getting to and from that venue, or that's the only thing with it. Do you know what I mean? It's just this thing about levelling up means taking away from London and giving to the regions. That's not levelling up, that's levelling down for me. No one's really winning there, are they? And then being strategic about where that money is going. I'm thinking equitably as well. So who's getting that money? Is it black-led organisations? Is it disabled-led organisations? Like who are you funding to do what work? It's all those questions, I think, need answering. So it's much broader than like arts funding. It's like arts funding, yeah. How is that being allocated? Is it new money? Because it needs to be. And is the funding going somewhere where there's an infrastructure to support it? They're all my questions about that. But they're all my comments about that, I guess. There's definitely a north-south divide. It was weird though, like I said, it didn't really clock that meeting thing until I didn't live in London anymore. And I was like, I'm asked to go to London for meetings constantly.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't we doing meetings in Manchester or Liverpool or Leeds or Newcastle? Like, all of these have got vibrant music scenes. Anyway, I'm having a proper moan there about going to London.
That's fine. Like we do Manchester, a thriving music scene. Leeds especially has got a thriving music scene. You know, in Scotland as well. You know, it's in the northeast as well. To a point, absolutely. You know, it just, I think everyone just gravitates to London because I think that's where everything's happening. When in fact, it's just very small.
But the funding thing is a massive one. That's something that obviously the MU lobby on and campaign on constantly. Like you'll see at the moment, there's loads of work with Northern Ballet, with the orchestra at Northern Ballet and English National Opera, and work around that to save our members' jobs. Yeah, I mean the funding is just going to be ongoing lobbying.
So thanks very much, John. So John, we've got 10 minutes because I know you're a very busy person. A meeting after this one.
Yeah. Not in London now, in Manchester this time.
Sorry?
The meeting's not in London this time, no, it's in Manchester, so it's easy.
There we are. There we are. So what have been some of the major successes that you've seen while you've been the head of equality at the Musicians Union?
I guess the way we talk about ED&I, the Musicians Union, so now we're in a position where we can be quite authoritative on it, but it took us a long time to get there, like 5 or 6 years, say. So now people will come to us for advice on ED&I issues, and that's essentially what we want. Because then we can totally represent what our members want. So people will proactively contact us and say, can we have some advice on A, B, or C, whatever it might be. Like, that's the dream, that people are coming to us so we can go and ask our members, go back, do you know what I mean? And have that proper relationship with them. And the other thing I'm really proud of is the member networks. So they're about 2 years old. It was just really important for us to create spaces for underrepresented members that was for them and their communities. And they led the space. The space was always there for them to do whatever they wanted with. Still a work in process about building them to what we want them to be. But I'm really proud of the networks. Yeah, they've been successful in terms of, like, they'll go and diversify our committees so people will get involved with the networks and then learn more about what a trade union does and what a committee does. And because it can be quite daunting, isn't it, to be like before it, I would never have been on a committee in a trade union and be just like, that's not for me. But it actually is for me. And it's for loads of people who probably don't realise it. So yeah, the networks are probably the thing I'm most proud of.
It's kind of it's right what you're saying though. You know, just picking up a phone or walking through a door and asking for help is sometimes the biggest barrier of all, because some people just don't feel comfortable doing it. So, and that's kind of when I'm at work, I'll try and make everything as comfortable as possible for everyone, because you can't learn or you can't enjoy yourself in an environment which, you know, feels restrictive or just uncomfortable in general. We know where, like, I think I've used this word a couple of times, but like almost like combative against what they think. So I think you're right in thinking that as well, John. Absolutely, because like I struggle to pick a phone up and ask for a hair appointment. You know, it's like, you know, it's like, do I have to do this? So just for other people in general, just to get through the door and ask for help, that is a major thing, I think.
And what's nice about the networks is, like, you don't have to be elected, you don't have to speak if you don't want to speak. There's no pressure. It's like I said, it's like that's your space. Like, they're generally online, so even if you turn up, don't have your camera on, you're just listening. It's a way to, like, build community and get to know other musicians. But so many of those members have ended up on committees, like regionally or on the section committees, who probably wouldn't have been on them otherwise. Because if you say, like, a trade union committee, what picture does that come in your head? It doesn't sound like that welcoming a space, does it, really? Whereas in reality, they are. Like, there's loads of like friendships that are built through there and loads of really positive things that come out of them. So yeah, I'm really happy with the networks.
Thanks, John. What I'm going to do, I'm going to skip one of the questions because we've only got 7 minutes. Now, I've got a couple of questions from our learners. So we've got some of our learners here. We've got Hayden Bell, we've got Scott Poole and Johnny Callender with us there. We can see the top of the heads just cut off there. Put your heads up, lads, so John can see you. There we are. So so there's 5 questions overall. So how do you make sure that people actually get included? I think that means in kind of either funding or advice or just get included in general in the music industry?
You mean within the MU?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so with the network, again, is a brilliant space to do that, because we can just have dead direct conversations with our members. But we have an ED&I committee that are elected by the membership. So on that committee, there'll be disabled members, members from the global majority, women members, and LGBT and T members as well. And they're the ones who will, like, discuss the issues. So say we get issues from the networks or there's issues that we know about, we'll discuss them with the committee. We'll decide on a way to tackle them, or if we can tackle them, and then me and my colleague Diljit will go away and work on them, and we report back. But what we like to do is always keep the members who we're talking about engaged. So we might email or our disabled members and say, we've responded to a consultation on this. Say it was about benefits in the government. What Adam mentioned before. What are your views on it? And ask them direct questions so we can make sure that the voices are heard. So I guess we're always just checking in with our members and always proactively inviting our members to things like the networks or events. And again, I think especially with our disabled members, proactively saying, have you got any reasonable adjustments? Have you got any access requirements? What can we do to make this more accessible for you? And just keep having that conversation and keep listening, I guess.
I think the next question is, do you make sure people of all ages get included? I think that's really just asking for, is there a certain age bracket that you need to be to join the Musicians Union?
You can join at any age. Oh, can you? Yeah, you can join at any age, I think. But you've got to, yeah, because we have student members. So generally, I think we've got a couple of members under 16, but generally it's like when you're 16, when you've left school and maybe start going to college and that. So yeah, we do. We do loads of work to try and engage our younger members. Just to make sure that we've got those views coming through as well. So there's a young members network as well that one of my colleagues looks after.
So like I said, these come from our learners. So one of the questions is, do you include everyone with a disability?
Yeah. And we'll like, that's what I say. So generally we won't be asking you like what your disability is. Generally our question will be like, well, what do you need? Like what are your access needs? Because I know for myself, like I'll say I'm neurodiverse rather than say like, oh, I've got ADHD or dyslexia or whatever it is. Because sometimes when you tell people like you're dyslexic, they might be good meaning and they'll be like, oh, well, my mate's dyslexic and he does A, B, C. So they'll think like they know what you need already and start sending you, I don't know, emails with a pink background because they think it makes it easier to read or something. And for me, that's a nightmare. So I don't generally say it, but I'll tell people what I need. So yeah, with us, we frame it as that, like, not that I'm not interested in whether you're visually impaired or not. Of course I am. I'm more interested in what you need to participate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It says the other question is, what do you do for people with hidden disabilities such as ADHD, autism, dyspraxia?
Sorry, say that again.
Yeah.
I was reading a question in the chat. Sorry.
That's fine. What do you do for people with hidden disabilities such as ADHD, autism, and dyspraxia?
So we've just set up a neurodiversity hub. And again, that come from our members from one of our conferences. So there's resources on there for neurodiverse musicians and people working with neurodiverse musicians. Because you'll notice a lot of EDI work focuses on like helping people who aren't neurodiverse, let's say, to understand neurodiverse people. And we want to make sure our neurodiverse members are getting support as well as offering that support to non-neurodiverse people as well. So there's neurodiverse hub. And then there's stuff like we have funding advice. So if you're putting like a funding bid together, members can get it reviewed by someone and give them feedback on it. And if you're a disabled member, like you'll get extra time. So if you tell us like that you're neurodiverse, you'll get extra time allocated to you so that person can spend a little bit more time going through stuff if you need it. Obviously, there's the discounted rate membership. That's a self-ID as well, so no one's going to be saying to you, "Oh, prove that you're neurodiverse or disabled or whatever." That if you feel like you'll benefit from that membership and you identify as disabled, then you granted that.
How much is that's a cracking show, because I think that might be a barrier to some people before about the amount of paperwork they've got to submit to even prove that they may be eligible for discounts and grants and things.
Yeah.
So how much is that per year for the disabled membership?
It's £12 a month. I can't do the math on what that is a year, but it's £12 a month, or just under £12.
£144 a year. Then I think.
Oh yes, nice one, Adam. Honestly, my math's terrible.
So
if you're a student, it's £20 for the year if you're a student. But we've got a scheme as well, a join for £1 scheme, where if you've never been a member before, you join for £1 and you get your first 6 months for free. But go and take a look on the website. There's all different membership offering. But it was dead important not to ask for proof or anything. Like we really push for that because I know it's a barrier. Like when I was doing I do courses a lot to make sure I know what I'm talking about to keep my knowledge up. And I asked for extra time on one, and one of them was like, "Well, have you got any proof of being neurodiverse?" It's like, well, I didn't get a certificate or something. If you want to read like the 80-page report that you get or something, you can have it. But like, no one's going to sit there and read that. So I just think sometimes it's like, why would people lie? There's no benefit to anyone being like, oh yeah, I'm going to get this membership. And it'll be such a small number of people that do. It's worth not asking for the proof, isn't it? To make sure everyone's got access to it.
There's one question in the chat from Laura Edwards. Hi, John, on the topic of networks, do individuals working within EDI exchange information or work together?
Yeah. So I work with both Eunice and Hayley. And I've known Hayley for a long time and work with Eunice. So partnerships are a massive part of my work. So I work with UK Music where Eunice does my job, BPI where Hayley does my job. Attitude is everything, Black Lives and Music. To me, that's the way we make change, is when we're all asking for the same things. All of our organisations do slightly different things or work in slightly different sectors, but essentially we all are working towards the same goal where EDI is concerned. So yeah, we definitely do. I see them a lot. I'm seeing Eunice and Hayley on Tuesday, actually.
Fantastic. I don't know if Ian's lost his connection. But I think that's, unless anyone else has got any questions, but I think that's us.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for asking me. You know what? It was so nice to be in a room with all Northern accents.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, John. We really appreciate you giving your time up this morning.
No worries at all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to
Take
see
care.
you
Safe
all.
travels.
Thanks very much.
See you later. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Cheers, John. Bye.